Bill Feldman.
Good evening. My name is Bill Feldman, F-E-L-D-M-A-N. I am the founder of Real NYS, the Responsible Associated Landowners of New York State. I represent over 3,100 property owners with 61,000 acres, all of whom want their land left undisturbed from industrialization. We find that building and using this pipeline is foolhardy, as the companies that wish to build it have a long record of behaving in a reckless, dangerous, and irresponsible manner. Cabot is responsible for more violations in Pennsylvania than any other company in the industry. Their rate of violations is accelerating and going out of control, with 161 violations in 2011 alone. For example, in 2011, Cabot Oil and Gas was responsible for the unauthorized dumping of fracking wastewater into Neshaminy Creek, a tributary of the Delaware River. In 2010, in Dimmock, the Pennsylvania DEP ordered Cabot to plug 3 wells within 40 days. These wells were the source of migrating gas that has contaminated groundwater and drinking water supplies for 14 homes in the region. Cabot's partner, Williams Companies, has shown that they consistently perform cheap, shoddy work, resulting in dangerous health conditions to the environment and to people who must live and work near their pipelines. Williams Companies were responsible for 3 natural gas explosions, one in Pennsylvania, one in Marengo County, Alabama, and one near Appomattox, Virginia, that destroyed 2 homes and seriously injured 5 people. Williams has also been fined for failing to conduct annual inspections and for failing to control corrosion in pipelines. They've also been fined for failure to monitor and limit the discharge of contaminated groundwater. Cabot and Williams should not be rewarded for their continuous incompetence, corner cutting, and for their disregard for the environment and people who work on the pipeline and live near the pipeline. I call on FERC to examine the past records of these 2 rogue companies and deny them permits to construct and manage a pipeline here in New York. We do not want to let them wreak similar damage here as in the other states in which they operate. They have complete disregard for the environment and for the safety of the citizens nearby. There is an additional problem, and that is the radon 222 levels of the gas that will be passing through the pipeline. There are communities near the Constitution pipeline that have been promised gas distribution from the pipeline. Since the radon levels at the wellhead are extraordinarily high as 2,576 picocuries per liter at the wellhead, while the safe limit as set by the Radon Act 51 is 0.4 picocuries per liter, the gas, by the time it is consumed, will not have had enough time to dissipate its entrapped radon. It takes 3.8 days for the radiation to be reduced by half. By the time that citizens of towns along the pipeline, and even hundreds of miles away, use it in their homes and factories, it still contains high levels of radon-222, a carcinogenic toxin. There isn't enough time for the radon to decay and reach safe levels before consumers breathe its products of combustion and use it for cooking and heating their homes. This presents an unacceptable health risk for consumers. Therefore, I ask FERC to study these issues and deny Constitution Pipeline the right to build the pipeline and distribute radioactive gas to consumers along its length, unless it can be shown with scientific testing at the consumer end of the pipeline as it enters their homes that such distribution poses no danger to consumers. In addition, I ask FERC to prohibit Cabot and Williams from building this pipeline due to their unacceptably shoddy work and their disingenuous attitude toward safety. Thank you very much.
Richard Downey, Anne Marie Gardy, Nicole Dillingham,
Good evening. My name is Dick Downey. I'm on the steering committee for the Unitigo Area Landowners Association, 300 families in Unadilla and in Otsego. And I've served on the Unitigo School Board for 15 years. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on the proposed RUNEM. This issue is going to be decided primarily by geography and engineering, but I appreciate your giving us input into your decision. First, some general observations. 52 million homes in the United States are heated with gas. That's according to the last census. These homes are half the homes in the country. They get their gas through pipelines like the Constitution. Because of environmental concerns, cities like New York and Boston are doing away with their number 6 and number 4 heating oil, switching to gas. Over the last 4 years, electric generation from coal has fallen 1/3, from 48% to 32%. They're switching to gas. Because of this, carbon dioxide emissions levels have dropped to 20-year lows and falling. All this in a free market, no cap and trade, no crony capitalism. All this is good and should be supported by all environmentalists. That's the big picture. Let me talk about my own town, Otsego. The Constitution will generate $3 million in tax revenue to Otsego County. Route M goes 32 miles through Otsego County, 4 of which are through Otsego. Proportionately, we should expect to get about $375,000. Okay, using just back of the envelope math, at a mill rate of 2.5 county, 2.5 town, and 16 school, the tax bill for the Oneonta School District will be reduced by $285,000. That's a good thing. The superintendent just told us that there's going to be a subsidiary line coming along Route 7 that's going to feed our schools, and that the heating bill is going to go down about 60%. Our annual heating bill right now is $220,000. That means we'll be saving $132,000 a year. That's 2 teachers and an aide that we won't have to lay off. Again, a good thing. Last year we had to lay off 5 teachers, 9 aides, and we had a cut program. Not a good thing. Between the reduced taxes to the town and the school, plus reduced heating expenses, the benefits to Otsego could be about $450,000 annually. That means coming back year after year. With our revenues flatlined, this is significant. But let me keep going.
He has a minute, please let him have his time.
Okay. The subsidiary line running up Route 7 will pass through Unadilla, Wells Bridge, and Otsego. They will build out from those areas. Again, savings to local residents. Many of our residents work for Meade, West Vaco, and Amphenolf. Cheap fuel saves jobs. This in turn stabilizes our population and hopefully our real estate market. Another good thing. But that's just part of the story. The heating bill for Otsego County is about $60 million a year. As infrastructure builds out, Otsego County should realize substantial savings on the fuel bill. I'm sure a lot of these folks will take advantage of it. I don't know what the full savings are going to be, but I do know this. Gas from PA is a lot cheaper than gas from Texas and Colorado. Our heating costs will go down, and by the way, we also cook with gas. That's another savings. We may close a school in Otsego next year. There's no money. Our district's enrollment 15 years ago, 1,437. Last week, 968. Young families are leaving, no jobs. On Route 7 and up the Osceola from Secor Road, 15 for sale signs, but tear them up. No one's buying. Otsego doesn't even have enough comparable sales to do a proper reval. That's the situation in my town. I hope that you will put Route M through Otsego County. We need you. Thank you.
Please allow everyone their freedom of speech, folks. Everyone here has free speech. Let them express it. Thank you.
Anne-Marie Gardy.
Hi, my name is Anne-Marie Garty, and tonight I'm coming with a new hat. Tonight I come and I speak on behalf of the PACE Environmental Litigation Clinic, which has the honor of representing Stop the Pipeline against the most unconstitutional pipeline. It's a sobering position to be in. On one hand, I'm really honored to represent these people. As you have heard from them, you know what you do to them. You know that you take their dreams from them. And you know that you take their future and their lives from them. I don't know how you quite do it, but normally you're at a distance, and tonight you have to face them. Now, if I had been able to speak earlier, I was going to have them face you in a more direct way, but we're a little later in the evening now, so I'm not going to do that. This group, Stop the Pipeline, had its first meeting on June 26th of this year, less than 4 months ago. And tonight it filled the hall. Almost all of them were from the group, and I would have made that point earlier in the evening. That's quite an accomplishment in a rural area where there's not a lot of ways of binding together like there is in an urban area. And the reason why they can do that is because the atrocity that's being forced upon them forces them to come together to try to do anything to stop this. And what's been accomplished in 4 months is going to increase exponentially over the next year. These are people who have everything to lose and nothing to gain from this pipeline. And it's not just the affected landowners, and I think you're getting this message. But the problem is that the system doesn't really allow the message to get through. You know how the system works. They do the EIS. You guys don't even do the EIS. You know, it's like the game of the environmental review. You have to change it this time. You have to really make them do what the National Environmental Policy Act requires. And we're going to give you 1,000 reasons for why this pipeline is no good. But we can't do it without you. You have to do it on the other side. You have to make that document real, rather than just words. You have to really take what people are saying here and put it into the document so that it is expressed in a way that will change 5 people's minds. You know who those 5 people are. Because that's what has to happen here. And if it doesn't happen here, we're going to see something that's not going to be pretty. So, you know, the last time I came and I asked for something and you gave it to us, and I'm grateful, and I think everybody's grateful that we're having this hearing tonight. But the only thing that we really want to ask for is a denial, of the certificate of public necessity and convenience. That's the only thing that really matters. We'll ask for things along the routes that'll lead to that, but that's the only thing we're really going to ask for. And so the main thing I want you to take back with you is remember the real stories of people as you write this document, as you structure it, as you make the data come together. You're going to have to go deeper and more thoroughly than you're used to doing, because you're going to have a lot of people looking at this document that you're not used to having look at documents that you do. You're going to see a momentum of opposition that you've never faced before. So I'm not threatening or warning, I'm just telling you that's what's going to happen here. This is what's happened in 4 months. And a year from now, it's going to be a lot worse. And we expect you to do the right thing this time. And I think it's time for FERC to do the right thing. I was told very early in this process that FERC has never seen a pipeline that it didn't like. Well, this is a pipeline not to like. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Nicole Dillingham.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Dillingham. I'm board president of Otsego 2000. Welcome to Otsego County. You said at the beginning of tonight's proceedings you wanted to learn more about us. I think by now you're getting an impression of the residents of this county and our neighboring county, Delaware. As I said, I work with Otsego 2000. My organization has worked in this area, we're headquartered in Cooperstown, New York, for more than 30 years, working to protect the environmental, agricultural, and historic resources which are significant of this community. We are also founding members of a local coalition which has grown now to have a coalition group in every town of our county and in many of the overlapping towns in our adjoining counties, which are opposed to heavy industrialization, and in particular to gas fracking and all of its appurtenant infrastructure, of which this is a part. So why are we here in Otsego County? Why did you schedule this hearing? I think you have the sense that the people here are unique. We are uniquely educated, we are uniquely committed, and we are not motivated only by money. The people who speak in favor of this pipeline often talk about how much money we can earn, how much we can generate, how much can be saved. But the people you heard from tonight are interested in other things. They're interested in their children's health. They're interested in their family dreams. They're interested in the history of this place. And this is what my organization has worked to protect. And let me just tell you a little bit more about the county in which you are sitting. The energy you see in the audience tonight, as late as the hour is getting, is energy that has been dedicated by these people and their neighbors through generations to protect the resources of this region. So much so that we are one of the most historically documented counties and the most historically documented regions in the entire state of New York. We are a mecca for historical tourism. We boast first-class medical facilities, first-class universities, the Baseball Hall of Fame, Glimmerglass State Park, Glimmerglass Historic District. In fact, Otsego County is host to 12 historic districts. We have submitted more than 60 nominations to the state and federal registers of historic places. We have more than 4,000 structures referenced in those submissions and in those logs. This is a community and a region that will fight to protect the assets that have been developed with private and public funds. Our own state has invested heavily in these assets. We are not going to allow one industry to take them all over, and neither should you. It is too valuable. We have submitted formal comments to you, and they are on our website, and many in this room have seen them. But let me just close by saying that when you do the work that Anne-Marie asked you to do, you must consider the cumulative impacts. And there is no question that this pipeline will lead to fracking infrastructure construction in our region. In fact, it is already part of fracking infrastructure for Cabot and Williams, who are already fracking in our neighboring state of Pennsylvania. I am a former antitrust lawyer. I'm still a lawyer, not in New York and California. But as an antitrust lawyer, we had a concept called vertical integration. And it's a concept that is recognized in the law. It is a situation where an entity operating at one level, the production level, the extraction level, like Cabot is, and Williams is, then seeks to vertically integrate into other levels of the production system, in this case the distribution system. And those kinds of migrations, the combination of production and distribution, must be looked at closely and must be looked at as an integrated economic force and as an integrated environmental impact. So in closing, I will just add as a final footnote that in addition to the historic resources that I've already outlined, we have also, as previous speakers have mentioned, documented extensively endangered species, threatened species, aquatic areas, wetlands, you name it. These people have worked for decades to identify it and protect it. It is all part of our submission to you. If you proceed to the next level of investigation, you must do a full cumulative impacts analysis of what this pipeline and the pertinent infrastructure that comes with it, the gathering lines, the compressor stations, the drilling pads, the trucks, the fragmentation of our forests, which are also well documented, what all of that will mean to this region. Thank you very much.
Les Dillingham, Adrian Kosminski, James Herman. Hold that mic right up to your mouth, buddy.
My name is Wes Gillingham. I'm the program director for Catskill Mountain Keeper, an advocacy organization that represents the Catskill Mountains of New York. Here we go again. First, we had forums, public forums, on how to get a good lease. Then we had public forums on the problems with gas drilling. Then we had a draft supplemental generic environmental impact statement. Season it with a few EPA hearings on how fracking is contaminating drinking water. Then a revised draft supplemental generic environmental impact statement. Don't forget the assembly hearings looking at health impacts. Then there was the Senate hearing on industry collusion with the Department of Environmental Conservation. Sprinkle the landscape with a few open houses for compressor stations and pipelines. Make no mistake about it. This is not just a hearing about pipelines. This is not just about approving or analyzing. This is about government greasing the skids for an overfunded, arrogant industry that makes multinational money off the backs of the people in this room. FERC is supposed to analyze the impacts from construction and implementation of this pipeline. FERC needs to show worst-case scenarios. New York State has shown, in some ways, through their SGIS process, 3 different build-outs. You need to look at those 3 build-outs. You have to analyze induced development. That's what Nicole was just speaking about. Put this pipeline in and the gathering lines will come. FERC has a habit of saying, well, we don't really know how to anticipate how many pipeline gathering lines will go to a transmission line. That's not true in this case. But going back to your job, you will use eminent domain, the right of a government to take private property for public use. The right of the government to take private property for public use. There's two pipelines we're talking about here. We're not just talking about the Constitution pipeline. There's the New York MARC, which is doing the exact same thing, supposedly bringing the gas to the market. It's connecting the same three pipelines. One of those does not need to happen, and in fact, neither of them need to happen. That is your job, to look for public need. This is not public need, this is private need. This is multinational corporations, so they can make obscene profits off the backs of the people in the gas field and the backs of the people in this room. The decision you make about the Constitution pipeline and how it travels across the state of New York is not just about New York. It's about our friends who traveled up here from Pennsylvania because it's already screwing up their backyard. You've heard the term bridge fuel. The bridge fuel away from fossil fuels. I'm going to use a technical term. Male bovine excrement. Or as my grandfather said, horse pucky. This is not a bridge fuel. This is a bridge to nowhere. This pipeline is a buttress or the foundation stone for the bridge to nowhere. Let's take down that bridge.
Adrian Kosminski.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Adrian Kosminski, K-U-Z-M-I-N-S-K-I. I'm the moderator of Sustainable Otsego, a social network of several hundred subscribers. The industry argues that natural gas is a cleaner fuel than other fossil fuels because it has about half the CO2 emissions at the point of combustion than oil or coal. What the industry doesn't say is that the methane emissions from gas production and distribution, including projects such as the Constitution pipeline, more than cancel out that advantage. This is a basic point. Peer-reviewed research at Cornell University by Professor Robert Howarth and his colleagues have shown that methane, that is natural gas, seeps from wellheads, compressors, valves, pipeline seams at a stubborn and irreducible rate of around 3 to 5%. Now, methane is a far worse greenhouse gas than CO2, at least 25 times and maybe up to 100 times as bad. So even this apparently low level of seepage is in fact enormous and promises to be disastrous for climate change. Natural gas is not a cleaner fossil fuel. All those households and businesses that Dick Downey wants to hook up to natural gas are all going to be leaking methane like a sieve. It's already the case with the older systems especially. It's even much worse in a place like Boston or New York City. We have old pipelines that are 100 years old or more. The stuff is just pouring out of the ground. The United States, as a matter of national and global security, should not be pursuing a public policy promoting shale gas or any other fossil fuel. We need to get off fossil fuels. Off fossil fuels and onto renewables as soon as possible. Every dime invested in natural gas and other fossil fuels is a dime that is not invested in renewables, putting us further in the hole. It's really a bridge to nowhere, as Wes said. It's shooting ourselves not only in the foot, but in the head. Apart from other serious documented harms brushed aside by the industry, and you've been hearing them tonight, health risks, economic costs, property takings, water pollution, you name it. The list is endless. Anna Maria Garty said you're going to get 1,000 reasons. You're probably going to get 10,000 reasons by the time this is done. The methane issue alone, putting all this aside for the moment for the sake of argument, the methane issue alone should put an end to projects like the Constitution Pipeline. You don't really need to know anything more. We can't stop using natural gas overnight, that's true. But we can stop expanding our reliance on this dangerous industry before we suffer a fatal overdose leading to out-of-control climate change. And that's really what we're talking about here. The ultimate thing is out-of-control climate change. And this could be the tipping point. The handwriting is on the wall. We ignore it at our peril. Look to the facts, to the public welfare, and to your own consciences. And also, there's a political revolution that's happening here. I think you've seen it. This is really a revolutionary situation. I've never seen anything like it in upstate New York. And Otsego County is only one of a number of counties in the whole Shale region is full of communities that have documented their resistance and put together petitions and phone surveys and persuaded, in many cases, initially reluctant town boards. Under circumstances much like what you see tonight. This kind of thing has been reduplicated in town after town after town with about the same proportion, about 90% or so against and a handful of people in favor of it. So, anyway, do not approve this project. Thank you.
James Harmon.
Thanks for this opportunity to comment. I originally got into this because I lived next to 400 acres that was leased to gas drilling and had a pipeline at the central part of it. But beyond my personal issues with it, in terms of living next to a possible series of wells, the pipeline brings up an issue that I'd like to talk about that doesn't address environmental issues. I'm going to read from the Pace Environmental Litigation Clinic's filing with the FERC addressed to Kimberly Bogues, Secretary. And this is Section 5. The FERC cannot certify the use of eminent domain for a pipeline for domestic use, knowing that the gas will be exported from the United States. At the heart of the assessment of need for the proposed Constitution Pipeline is the Fifth Amendment's taking clause. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. This fundamental right, rooted in the Constitution of the United States of America, raises the legal question of whether the FERC can certify a project that entails the taking of land for domestic use while another federal agency considers its export. The current situation creates a reasonably foreseeable result. Gas transmitted through the proposed pipeline is likely to be exported. Therefore, the implications and impacts of such exports must be studied in detail. According to statements made by Williams Cabot, the gas will be transmitted by the proposed constitutional pipeline is for domestic use in the Northeast United States, specifically New York City and Boston. However, Williams made conflicting statements to its investors indicating that the gas flowing through its pipelines could be exported. In addition to this apparent conflict, FERC does not have the statutory or regulatory authority to certify interstate pipeline projects as part of an export facility. It is the Department of Energy, DOE, that determines the need for export. Only after DOE has made such a determination, does FERC gain the authority over the siting and construction. Liquefied natural gas facilities, construction of liquefied natural gas facilities. To date, DOE has approved only one LNG facility. 13 applications await its decision. Some of these facilities would be on the East Coast, but that is irrelevant as the gas pipelines in the United States are networked. If gas exported from one part of the U.S., say in pipelines in the United States, in parts of the U.S., say in the Gulf Coast, or Northwest, then gas from another part of the country simply replaces the gas that would have served the domestic market, but instead is being shipped overseas. It is a single flow of gas pulsing through a network of steel pipes. If one section runs low, another refills it. The Energy Information Administration recently concluded that gas exports would increase the price of domestic shale. Increased natural gas exports lead to increased natural gas prices. Larger export levels lead to larger domestic price increases, while rapid increases in export levels lead to large initial price increases that moderate somewhat in a few years. Slower increases in export levels lead to more gradual price increases, but eventually produce higher average prices during the decade between 2025 and 2035. This is from the Energy Information Administration. Since the FERC is required to consider the price of gas in its assessment of public convenience and necessity, the exporting of gas would be contrary to the domestic public interest. The FERC should thoroughly study the domestic need for gas that would flow through the proposed pipeline and through the network to which it connects. Given the current glut of gas and projections that the oversupply of gas continue for years, it seems hard to justify the construction of yet another pipeline. New pipelines only make sense if the federal government allows the export of gas. Since foreign markets pay 5 times as much for gas, the FERC would essentially be authorizing the taking of private land from U.S. citizens in order to increase the export profits of private corporations. The decrease in domestic supply caused by the exports would in turn increase the price of domestic gas. Because of this conundrum, the EIS should include a legal analysis of whether private land can be taken for a pipeline if it is reasonably foreseeable that the gas would be exported to a foreign market. Thank you.
Russell Honecker. Christina Ture.
I'm Russell Honecker. I live in the village of Cooperstown. I'm on the village committee for energy and the environment. We are opposed to this pipeline. We've heard soil scientists talk about the inappropriate nature of this area for a pipeline. We've heard people talk about their land, which would be bisected and their lives would be ruined by this pipeline. We've heard about the radon in this gas, which will cause health effects. But I think to sum it up, the message I'd like to put across, because I think the people that have spoken before me have done so well, is what I got from one speaker. She said succinctly, "We will stand, we will fight." Where I live in Cooperstown now, a subsidiary, a contractor, came to buy 100,000 gallons a day from this village. It looked like easy money. And in a very short time, the village was so organized, we took a vote in front of the trustees. The trustees took a vote, ever willing to look for more sources of revenue. And it was decided one drop would be too much for this industry.
Christina Ture.
That's Christina Turechek. Thank you for holding this extra session for your scope of work on the Constitution Pipeline. Since Delaware County holds the greatest number of affected landowners, we had hoped that you would hold a hearing at a venue that would be easiest for them to attend. I hope many of those residents were able to get here tonight. We are concerned about the direct effects of the pipeline on living beings around here, flora and fauna alike, and on the air, water, and soil which nourish them. We have been concerned about the accidents, leaks, and explosions caused by Williams and Cabot in their checkered past. We have asked that you study the broad cumulative effects of the gas drilling which will be facilitated by this pipeline's presence, all up and down its length. Others have spoken so well about these issues which bear on our well-being. Whoa. Sorry. Yeah, I can't see my feet. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's right. I'm too short. However, I would like to address the issue of the dead and gone. In other words, our shared history. On September 25th, at the scoping session in Schoharie, I was startled to hear from Roberta Zweier of Williams that phase 1 of the archaeological survey was already completed. I understand that this phase would have begun with off-site paperwork involving research in the documented records, including state and federal registers, and maps of archaeologically sensitive areas. Also, it would have included inquiries directed to local historical societies, museums, and individual historians. Has this been done? I was encouraged to see that you had written to the chiefs of a number of Indian nations and tribes to ask for their input. Delaware, Cayuga, Oneida, Onondaga, Seneca, Shawnee, St. Regis Mohawk, Stockbridge, Munsee, Tonawanda, and Tuscarora. Have any of them responded? Will anyone pursue their knowledge? A spokesman at URS, a contracted archaeologist, has informed me that also in this phase 1, groups of 2 or even 15 people have managed to walk the proposed line from end to end, doing shovel and screen tests along the way at likely spots. In fact, I understand many affected landowners have decided not to allow anyone on their land to survey for Williams, so URS would not have been able to complete the walkthrough. I do wonder how they actually could have accomplished this feat, since there are at least 121 miles to cover, quite a bit more if you count the alternate routes, and the study width all along is 600 feet. This would amount to nearly 14 square miles, or nearly 400 million square feet. How on earth this is humanly possible in 3 or 4 months is beyond me. I can only guess that the archaeologists must have ruled out most of the territory as beneath consideration. If they followed this kind of sketchy protocol, are we to assume a cavalier attitude toward our shared culture is the norm when surveys are done for all large mineral extraction projects? I don't know. This is hard to understand because our whole area was populated by humans for thousands of years and by primitive creatures and plants for millions of years before that. 5 days ago, the New York City Department of Environmental Preservation released a story about the finding, preservation, and display of ancient artifacts and fossils on 2 large projects. Prior to construction of a water treatment plant on a 153-acre parcel of land in Eastview, 2 stone points were found, This prompted 700 shovel tests. That's 1 foot by 1 foot holes dug 5 feet deep, done on 67 acres. 400 artifacts were located at 18 different sites. Their age and design told a story of the people who made them. Mention also was made about the amazing fossilized trees which were found during work on the Gilboa Dam, the world's oldest forest at 380 million years. These finds are gifts to our imaginations. On YouTube, we've seen videos of lines of explosive charges used to blast ditches for pipelines. Mike Kotz of Washington County, Pennsylvania said, quote, "A bulldozer can destroy 9,000 years of history in 15 minutes. Well, dynamite can blow 9,000 years of history to smithereens in 15 seconds. Lost forever." How can we be assured that our history will be preserved here? In addition to preserving ancient fossils and Native American remains and artifacts, can we expect that our more recent European heritage might be worth preserving too?
1 minute, Mr. Chair, please.
Our pioneer ancestors and our Revolutionary War fighters traveled up and down these valleys, waterways, fields, and forests. I have been told that this pipeline may plow right through the remains of 1 or 2 people who, but for fate, might have come to this meeting tonight. Who will stop Williams from doing that? I discovered quite by accident that my great-grandfather lived in Delaware County in the early 1800s. Is Williams going to dig through or blast any of his relatives' grave sites? My great-grandmother was part Indian and grew up around Milford, Pennsylvania in the 1830s. She told of the wolves and the wildness of the country in the northeast corner of Pennsylvania. Given that archaeologists agree that the situation in Pennsylvania is terrible, that the fossil fuel industry now can do whatever they want down there, I can't expect that evidence of those Pennsylvania relatives of mine have been spared. All over the world, the frantic search for fossil fuels has ruined historic and culturally valuable areas. We can see that the Constitution pipeline will be incredibly destructive, almost any way you look at it. There are hundreds of people who will be affected by it, and there's no way Williams can possibly compensate them for the lost peace of mind, lost property values, and possibly lost health, especially if compressor stations begin to multiply along the way, as they're wont to do. It would be criminal if Williams took their land by eminent domain, and unconstitutional, possibly treasonous, if gas taken by forced pooling or compulsory integration were to be exported and sold, not for the public good, but for the private benefit of a corporation. Please see that our history is preserved. We do not need this pipeline. We do not want this pipeline. Let us remember the Fifth Amendment of our Constitution. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Thank you.
Felix Rydell. Felix Rydell. Tracy Carluccio. Uni Blake.
My name is Felix Rydell. I'm 12 years old in the 7th grade of Franklin Central School. I oppose this pipeline. I've come after many others because I do not represent Franklin and I am not a directly affected landowner. But I will be directly affected, as well as everyone else here. All life, human, animal, plant, is connected. Life on Earth is a delicate, fragile fabric. When one strand is pulled out, the fabric begins to fray. But although all life depends on this fabric, we only know parts of the pattern. Therefore, we don't know what we're doing when we yank on a thread. The Constitution pipeline will guide a 120-mile trench across beautiful forests, clean streams, and wide meadows. As many others have demonstrated, fracking will follow the pipeline. Fracking has a terrible effect on the environment, as many others people have described. For example, it poisons air, water, soil, creates noise, and lights up the nights. We cannot be sure of the exact effects fracking will have on our ecosystem. However, let's try to imagine this. Fracking fluid poisons fish, that bald eagles feed upon. The eagle's population declines. With less competition, hawk numbers increase. They feed heavily upon mice and rabbits, whose numbers go down. The hawks either die or move away. Foxes and weasels, who also depend on the hawk's prey, go with them. With less competition, bobcats and coyote numbers go up. But with no small prey to feed upon, they turn their eyes to deer. The deer decline and their predators with them. With few animals hunting them, deer numbers suddenly explode. Because carnivores reproduce more slowly than herbivores, their meager populations cannot control prey numbers. Deer, and the newly returned rabbits and mice, graze heavily upon the farmland used for livestock. They obliterate all plant matter, then starve the few remaining carnivores with them. Cows, sheep, and goats have nothing to feed upon, so cannot be kept. After the livestock, guess who's next? Yes, us, humans, Homo sapiens. As the top predator, we are hit hardest. I'm not saying that this exact scenario will happen. However, ecological disruption all over the world has resulted in similar events. Ecology is a line of dominoes. Knock one down, the rest will soon follow. We humans stand at the end of the line. I'm asking FERC to examine the complex ecosystem of the area and how it will be affected by the pipeline. Knock one down, you knock them all down. Thank you.
Tracy Carluccio.
Hello, I'm Tracy Carluccio, Deputy Director of Delaware Riverkeeper Network. There's much that can be said and has been said tonight about the harmful impacts that will accompany this huge pipeline project. Based on the giant footprint of the project, we request an extension of the public comment period and a hearing in at least each of the 6 affected counties, both in Pennsylvania and New York, and at least one in the Delaware River watershed, which is downstream of one of the alternative routes. In written comment already submitted, Delaware Riverkeeper Network detailed the issues that you did not cover in your notice of intent, such as climate change, greenhouse gas emissions, and environmental justice, just to name a few, and must, by law, include in your environmental impact statement, and the categories that are of particular concern with this project. Certainly, one of the largest issues that FERC must cover is the cumulative impacts of the project. That is, the incremental impact of this pipeline when added to other past, present, and reasonably foreseeable future activities related to gas development, including the effects on the environment and communities where the shale gas that will fill this pipeline is extracted, and all the attendant infrastructure, the compressor stations, the gas and waste treatment facilities. And that includes the gas drilling that will be induced by the pipeline as well. That brings me to the one central issue you must address in this environmental impact statement, the fact that the need for this pipeline must be proven. And looking at the present situation and the forecast for shale gas, there is no reasonable, reliable expectation that New York or the Delaware River watershed will ever produce shale gas, at least not if we have anything to do with it. Further, the future of shale gas in Pennsylvania, where about 5,500 Marcellus wells have already been drilled, is also in limbo. New gas well starts are down due to a natural gas glut in the United States due to overproduction based on speculation, because of the KG financing of the unbridled expansion of drilling by companies in Pennsylvania and other shale regions over the past 3 to 4 years, and that is beginning now to unravel. As we see some of the former giants in shale gas, such as Chesapeake, reducing its investment and facing substantial financial crises, it's reasonable to ask, how long will this boom last? And is it already being busted? In other words, the gas Williams and Cabot expect may not materialize, regardless of what speculative contracts they may have in hand in the marketplace. And without justification based on need, no amount of harm is acceptable or justifiable by anyone, especially FERC. Every company seems to want to build its own pipeline. Delaware Riverkeeper Network is fighting 12 in the Delaware River watershed alone. So the nation's watersheds and landscapes are literally being slashed to ribbons, leaving communities and the natural environment to bear the short-term catastrophic effects and the long-term degradation of these projects. This insane scramble to build thousands of miles of new pipe and polluting compressors across the U.S. has to stop. And sane planning has to begin. It's your job to make sure that the environmental impact statement and the decisions made about this pipeline are in the interest of the public and our commonly held natural resources, including clean drinking water and clean air and the clean food sheds we and future generations require, not simply an endorsement of gas extraction, or worse, a role that is complicit with those whose purpose is to exploit resources for their profit, even if it means sacrificing our water and air. Please, FERC, step back. Put the Constitution pipeline and all new and expanded pipelines aside and commence sound energy infrastructure planning, looking at the entire footprint of shale gas development. As a federal energy agency, you are uniquely equipped to carry out such a cumulative impact analysis and to give broad consideration of energy sources, sustainable alternatives that are clean and truly renewable. We don't want Cabot and Williams' pipe dream to turn into our pipe nightmare. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on behalf of Delaware Riverkeepers Network's 10,000 members and all of us who live downstream, 15 million people relying on the water from the Delaware River. Thank you.
Uni Blake.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Uni Blake, and I live in the town of Maryland. If you approve this alternate Route M, it'll go through my town, and I'm here because it's personal. The town of Maryland is a small town with a population of about 1,900 people based on the 2010 census, and this number has been shrinking over the years. According to local historians, our town once had a vibrant community. Manufacturing plants grew in number not only because of the local power that was from a local dam, but also because of the people that were a part of the community. It was thriving with hotels, restaurants, creamery, an opera house, a theater, but this has all changed. The lights have gone out of the barns and the businesses of few. As a result, the towns of Maryland and Worcester both passed resolutions to support the pipeline. While the development of the pipeline itself might not change much of this, what it does offer the people is a sense of hope and opportunity. We all know that there are risks associated with pipeline development. We've heard about it all tonight. But the way I see it, these towns have two options. They can do nothing and wait and be at the mercy of the regulators and the companies. Or they could think proactively and start working to address the potential concerns. We know that pipeline-related accidents can be averted by well-informed and prepared communities. Information should be in the form of proactive strategies, like I've said, increasing local awareness about pipeline safety. While the decision to determine the pipeline route is complex, my goal today is to ask you, the Commission, to encourage independent organizations to help these communities work on public education and to sort through what are public perceptions which are wrong or right, and to sort through all of this. The pipeline has the potential to help these communities, but at the same time we do realize there are some impacts that might come along with it. I'm calling upon Williams or whoever is out there to organize and help spread, some correct information. There's been a lot of misinformation here given tonight. Thank you.